Now, the obvious use for a looper pedal is to keep stacking multiple tracks to create a sense of build-up, something naturally occurring in music, but this time with one instrumentalist. However, I'd say it's rare to see it outside a live performance signal chain, thanks to the magic of post-production. The improvisation when trying to write is super beneficial in that natural vibe sense, but it's all too tempting to just cut and rearrange random parts together and see what fits in a funk of creativeness or laziness. I actually hadn't thought about this tool for a while until the people at MeloAudio sent me their loop play pedal to try out, and I began thinking more about its potential. This is Kevin from Said Too Much. Maybe the second obvious use some of you guys are already aware of is to record a simple DI to experiment with on a whim, as long as you have the looper pedal at the beginning of the signal chain this time instead of the usual end. This is a lot easier than, say, playing open strings with one hand and trying to twist knobs with the other, especially when they're on the floor. You can record the actual riff, genre style, or note range you're thinking of first, then focus purely on dialing in its appropriate tone or come across some happy accidents. You can do this on a DAW by first recording, then highlighting the area you want looped, muting all the other instruments, and finally pushing play on a track. But this is at the risk of deleting something you may have thought you only muted, when you're trying to just tweak a guitar tone you didn't like. I know I've done this quite a bit. So again, sticking with the idea of keeping the looper at the beginning of the signal chain, you can even play a full voice chord around the first few frets, then jump up past the 12th fret and play the same thing, giving you almost a 12 voice chord, even taking advantage of two voices playing in unison, like a 12 string. An idea I think a lot of people overlook in its use. Just a thought. Now, different looper pedals can do different things. And what caught my eye in particular about this MeloAudio loop play pedal was the fact that you could preload loops across the 9 channels via a USB cable up to 40 minutes total. You wouldn't have to record the rhythm part to loop live first, wasting a measure or two. You could just trigger it simultaneously while you go to play your solo in a 3-piece band or something. You can trigger any instrument or vocal for that matter, even a full backing track up to 10 minutes in length. Or as something spontaneously triggered on the fly if you decide to vamp for a while. You could even load samples like bass drops and sound effects to trigger whenever the crowd seems to be vibing it, like you're simultaneously the DJ. I felt like that in particular would be very useful to any instrumentalist that has their hands full. So real quick, I want to give a shout out to the people over at MeloAudio with a quick overview of the loop play they sent me to use. To answer your burning question of why I plugged it into my Line 6 Helix and wouldn't just use the built-in looper it already has, it's because the Helix can only record up to 1 minute max, which is a common complaint against a lot of Line 6 products like this in general. This would be a huge problem if you're trying to improvise multiple lead or rhythm parts in one sitting. Beyond that, the fact that you can preload stuff on this thing makes it a way better tool live. It's got a built-in tuner if you want to kill 2 birds with 1 stone on your pedal board, potentially freeing up even more space with its dense and solid yet mini form factor. It's simple to learn with clear instructions, contained once again within solid professional packaging. The knob at the top is the loop volume control, and the 2 buttons change the channel up or down. The LEDs are nice and bright if you want to play outside, and you usually see this thing bundled with the power adapter, audio cable, USB cable, and a pair of complementary picks included, like you see in the Amazon link below, which is how it was shipped to me. So what do you guys think? Forgive any naivety on my end if you thought any of these ideas were too obvious. I'll admit that I've grown into a little bit more of a producer, big picture, post-production role over an instrumentalist throughout the years, which I now realize could be creatively stifling. Here's something taboo. If you don't count the Helix, this is actually the first pedal I've ever owned. It's certainly good to get out of the studio once in a while and find a new location more comfortable or inspiring to jam and vibe to. God forbid you're behind the computer for hours, programming stuff that you find just aren't fun to play when you finally get to touching your actual instruments. So here's to better writing, better tones, and a more engaging live experience. Hopefully live shows come back soon. For now though, enough said. For early video access, raw instrument tracks, and more exclusives, find our community on Patreon and consider adding your support.
Said too much.